Daf Pei Zayin. Today's daf is sponsored a refuah shalema for Binyamin Chaim ben Sarah. The first thing, which is really a carryover from the previous Amud, is concerning a blind man. The din of our Mishnah is that he, in fact, is chayiv for humiliating somebody. Our Mishnah teaches in the first clause that one who embarrasses a blind or sleeping man is liable to pay for his humiliation. On the other hand, in the second clause of the Mishnah, it mentions an exemption for a sleeping man who humiliates somebody and leaves out a blind man. Apparently, our Mishnah holds a blind man is liable for humiliating someone. The Gemara infers from this that our Mishnah does not follow the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, who exempts a blind man for humiliation. He learns Gzera Shava from Edim Zomim, where the Torah uses a similar terminology. It says concerning the liability for humiliation, Bekatsoiso es kapto loisechois einecha. Do not have mercy on a woman who humiliated a man. And concerning false witnesses, also the Torah says, it uses the term loisechois einecha. Do not have mercy on them, prosecute them. Certainly a blind man can't be an Eid Zomi, can't be a witness, can't testify, is unable to testify. Therefore, the same exemption applies to humiliation. As a matter of fact, the Gemara states, according to Rabbi Yehuda, the exemption to a blind man extends to all monetary liability. In addition, he cannot be a judge, he cannot be a plaintiff, he cannot be a defendant. He is not exiled for killing inadvertently, he is not lashed for any sin that one would receive lashes for, or even executed for murder. He is actually exempt from performing any mitzvahs. The Rishonim debate whether he is chayiv midrabanan or not. Although some poskim adopt the view of the Chachamim, not Rabbi Yehuda, still Rabbi Yehuda's view is not dismissed entirely l'halacha. The next Mishnah discusses certain parameters for liability for damages. Number one, the first law compares the difference between a human and an animal. An animal is liable only for damages and not for a miscarriage of a fetus, whereas a human is liable for 5 forms of damages, as we've been discussing, 5 forms of compensation, and even for a miscarriage. The second law differentiates between one who injures a parent without wounding them, who is liable for damages, versus one who wounded them, who is exempt because of kimlei b'derabbaminei. He gets the stricter punishment, which is misa. The third halacha deals with one who injures someone on Yom Kippur. He is liable for damages because there is no kimlei b'derabbaminei, according to the Tan of our Mishnah, because he is chayiv kares and not misas bezdin. However, if he damaged him on Shabbos, then he would be exempt from paying damages because of kimlei b'derabbaminei. The fourth halacha is one who injures a Jewish or Canaanite slave pays all forms of compensation except unemployment if the master injures him. According to Rabbi Yehuda, slaves are not entitled to humiliation. The fifth halach of the Mishnah is it differentiates between the deaf, minor, or mute. One who injures them pays compensation. They do not. They are not mentally competent and cannot be held responsible for their actions. Married women and slaves are not independent and therefore are exempt for damages only as long as they have no money of their own. The Gemara, first point, discusses a father's right to his minor daughter's compensation. The Gemara questions his right to her compensation for damages, similar to his rights to her earnings and marriage. The question does not refer to compensation for medical expenses, pain, or humiliation. Those 3 payments clearly go to her. The question refers to personal injury and unemployment compensation. In those cases, he suffers a loss, since he is entitled to her earnings and her money for marriage. Her injury earns him less. The question is, therefore, perhaps he, the father, is entitled to that in the same way that he's entitled to her earnings and her money for marriage. The Torah teaches, as we know, Binureh Beis Aviha, that he's entitled to her kesef kiddushin, her betrothal and her earnings, even when she's a nara. Only when she's a bogeres, he is not entitled. Rav differentiates the two laws. He claims he can marry her off to whoever he wants, and therefore he is entitled to the money for her marriage. On the other hand, Rav differentiates the two laws. He's entitled to her money for marriage and her earnings because he's entitled to marry her off to whoever he wants. However, he is not entitled to injure her. The Gemara proves from the Mishnah, just as an Eved Ivri is not entitled to unemployment if his master injures him, she should not be entitled as well, since her employment is the father's. Therefore, the Gemara understands Rav entitled her only to damages, unemployment goes to the father. The father's liability for injuring children. The Gemara differentiates between children he supports and children he does not support. Concerning sons that he supports, he has to pay 4 out of the 5. Unemployment he does not pay. If he does not support them, he has to pay their unemployment. The father is entitled to his minor daughter's unemployment even if he does not support her. However, this law seems strange. How will she support herself? It is her surplus money, her surplus income above what she needs to support herself, similar to an Eved Ivri who does not have to work for his master without being supported. Third-party injury to children, money that does not come from the father's pocket, as long as he is not stingy, he does not begrudge them collecting in a case where they suffer. In the case of a lost object, he would begrudge them since they did not suffer in the process.